And as the first speaker, let me invite the Vice Chancellor of the National Defence University of Malaysia, General Tan Sri Dato, Zulkifli, Zainal, Abidin. General.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. I was asked to speak on the subject of Kesban, operation in Malaysia, outlining what is believed to be the major factors that need to be considered in planning Kesban strategy. The security and development approach in nation building was first introduced by the British in Malaya during the period of the first emergency that took place from 1948 to 1960. It was later continued and further developed by the independent Malayan, later Malaysian, government to develop the country to what it is now. When the concept was first started, the two formidable challenges faced by the British was firstly to defeat the armed communist insurgency movement that sought to take over the country through the armed struggle, and secondly to prepare the country physically and psychologically for independence. The task was made more difficult as the population makeup of young country consisted of diverse racial, cultural, and religious groups. Security and development, or in Malay called Keselamatan dan Pembangunan, in short Kesban, was a two-pronged approach strategy to defeat the insurgent movement as well as develop the country. It was planned at the national level and organized with an hierarchical structure and change of command that goes down to district and village levels. Similar concept was also applied by the American during the Vietnam War, but the result was not that encouraging despite the involvement of experts who were acknowledged as the architect of Malayan Kesban. Another recent attempt at introducing Kesban was in Iraq and Afghanistan, where the outcome were also not that encouraging. As a caveat, it must be admitted that the Kesban concept is not a one-size-that-fits-all concept. The strategic application of Kesban must be carried out with judicious consideration of various factors. For Sri Lanka, humbly, the Kesban concept that needs to be adopted, if it needs to adopt, will have to be tailored to fit in its national strategic objective. The threat of armed insurgent movement is no longer there, but the process of nation building and development will still need to continue. For Sri Lanka, the security aspect of Kesban is still relevant, but the weightage may now be tilted more towards the development aspect. The security development strategy may have to incorporate firstly in the security prong that healing, I reiterate, the healing process of the wound that were inflicted as a result of decade-long civil unrest, and the development prong that is designed to develop the country economically, physically, and psychologically. The Malaysian experience in Kesban has taught us some lesson as what is believed to be the principle or guideline that may have to be adhered to ensure the successful implementation of the program. The following are the key principles identified. The first principle is the principle of supremacy of democracy, democratic civilian control of the operation. In Malaysia, From the period of first emergency to the last day that led to the final defeat of the communist insurgency in 1990, all the security apparatus and other supporting agencies were placed under the control of National Security Council. The National Security Council was chaired by the Prime Minister, who took the hands-on approach in the day-to-day operation of the Council. The Prime Minister received his advice from the Armed Forces Chief and the Inspector General of the Police. The head of the other government department were also cooperated to implement it all. The approach was taken is similar to that adopted in total defense, where everybody has a role to play and each one of them understand where they fit in the overall plan. The second principle is the principle of unity of the change of command. While the National Security Council exists at federal level, similar subordinate organizations were replicated at states, district and local levels. At the state level, the State Security Council, or CSEC, was headed by the Chief Minister, while the local army commander in the state and the state chief police officer served as the main security advisor. At district level, the subordinate council would be headed by the district officer, where the local battalion commander and the officer commanding of police district, or OCPD, serve as the security commander and advisor. The existence of this change of command allowed for the clear passage of information down to the lowest level. The third principle is the principle of comprehensive or total involvement. In Kesban, the security aspect of operation was entrusted to the military and the police. Other civilian departments were aware of this. They were also given the responsibility to assist the military and the police in some relevant supporting role. They understood the big picture and were well prepared to play their relative role. Among the government departments that played active supporting role include the Public Work Department, Broadcasting and Information Department, Department of Rural Development, and Welfare Department. On the development aspect, other government departments, depending on the task given, would be playing the leading role. In this respect, the military and the police would be playing supporting role, providing protection and security so that this department would be able to perform their tasks unhindered and free from security threats. The fourth principle is the principle of people-centric approach. Kesban was essentially a counter-insurgency strategy where the requirement of winning the hearts and the minds of the population far outweighed the need to capture and hold ground. In Kesban, the areas under control were categorized as black, white, or gray, depending on the level of allegiance shown by the population towards the government. Black area status was assigned to areas that were mainly sympathetic to the enemy, while white area status was given to the areas that were free from the enemy influence. The ultimate objective was to turn all areas into white areas. Towards the end, the judicial planning and execution of psychological operation coordinated with development activities and security operation was essential. In compelling the people to support the government effort were made to highlight the positive effect of development and why their support is needed to facilitate further development effort, which ultimately would be to their benefit. The fifth principle is the principle of winning the hearts and minds of the population. This is the corollary of the earlier people-centric approach mentioned earlier. Kesban operation was also essentially small unit operation. Soldiers that were normally trained to exercise maximum force and violence in the face of the enemy had to be trained to be patient and compassionate. and to treat civilians with respect and dignity. In this respect, junior commanders and the NCO play a key leadership role as part of the security operation. Soldiers also carry out voluntary development projects to assist the relevant civilian authority in uplifting the quality of life of the population. It was not uncommon to see engineer unit being involved in the building of roads, community hall, places of worship, and other facilities for the community, or medical unit giving medical and dental treatment as part of the military hearts and mind operation. The above 5 principles mentioned are not the cardinal or gospel truth principles that must be adhered to. They are just mere guidelines that complement and sometimes may overlap with each other. In Kesban, where the military, police, and the civilian agencies are required to work together as a team, personnel from one agency may also need to know how the other agency works. In Malaysia, cross-training were commonly introduced to facilitate better inter-agency coordination. It was common for civilian officers from the Malaysian Civil Service or officers from the Royal Malaysian Police to attend certain specific army courses to familiarize themselves with the manner how the army conduct its operation, or for the army officers to attend courses organized by the Malaysian Civil Service at the Institute of Public Administration. Malaysian experience in Kesban also led us to discover the importance of establishing a sui generis organization where the Kesban concept, due to the operational requirement needs, to be exercised in a more coherent manner. Rajang Area Security Command, or RASCOM, was organized along a brigade group organization to deal with the threat of the North Kalimantan Communist Party, or NKCP, and the need to develop a society that was scattered, isolated, and spread over a large area. Left unattended, the society would be vulnerable to the possible exploitation of the insurgent. To perform this unique function, RASCOM was formed with a civilian chief executive officer as the head of the organization. The CEO was assisted by a military brigade commander who was essentially the operational commander of the organization. The RASCOM military commander has under him 3 principal staff officers, the military, the police, and the civilian PSOs. These PSOs were responsible in coordinating the activities of the various units and departments under their charge. During this heyday, RASCOM was the showcase organization that epitomized Malaysia's successful implementation of Kesban. RASCOM was disbanded after the successful defeat of the common insurgent by the Malaysian government. Following its abandon, RASCOM reverted back to the ordinary infantry brigade organization. In conclusion, running a Kesban operation is like conducting an orchestra. The musical instruments are of diverse type, yet they are all contribute towards creating the same music. Every single musician has to be good at playing his musical instrument. They are all read the same note. They also follow the lead from one single conductor who is in charge of the performance. Kesban is similar in that it required a high level of professionalism being practiced by various agencies involved, good coordination, and efficient passage of information being channeled down to the lowest level. And more importantly, places people as its prime target. Just like good music that is pleasant to hear would appeal to the audience, good Kesban strategy would attract the hearts and mind of the people. Thank you.